We are back with a brand new video. In today's video, we're going to be recapping Game 2 of the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat series. This was a tough pill to swallow, man. Very tough loss if you're a Heat fan. Even if like you're a neutral fan, because like a lot of people wanted this game to be close, and it was a blowout, and it kind of just it became a blowout since the middle of the first quarter, once they started making that run, the 17-0 run or whatever, to close out the first. Like that's when it just got out of hand, and the Heat could not do anything from there. We got to credit the Celtics, man. They had an amazing game plan, and they stuck to it. But we're going to be talking about this game plan, what the Heat, how the Heat have to be better, some players that have to be better, this, that, and the other. So make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Also check out my second channel if you have not already, because I have just dropped a mock draft episode that has been a post draft lottery mock draft. If you guys are into that type of content, hit the link in the pinned comment and you guys will be directed straight to my second channel. Like I said, my link is in the pinned comment, so yeah, hit that link if you guys want to see more of that content. But let's get right into it. So yeah, we got to credit the Boston Celtics. They played extremely well, but I do think that the Heat, I know, like, well, obviously, first of all, I did not watch fully the second half. I watched the first half and I didn't watch the second half, not because I didn't want to, because even if I wanted to, I couldn't, because I was out. I was not home to watch the second half, so I could not watch it. So I came back and then watched the replay, and then I was like, man, like, this is crazy. Like, obviously I didn't watch the fourth quarter fully, because that's when like Spo took out the starters and stuff and put in Yurtsevin and Highsmith and all these guys. I didn't watch that part. I just watched the third quarter back, and then I watched some of the fourth quarter. But I watched the first half live, and that was basically enough to tell me what was going on in that game. Now if you look at game one, in the first half of game one, the big storyline was that the Celtics had 42 or 44 points or something like that in the paint in the first half of game one, and that was embarrassing for the Heat, because for a team that prides itself on protecting the rim defensively, 42 points in the paint is unacceptable. So you had to imagine that it was going to be a concerted effort in game two for the Heat to take away as many paint points and opportunities as they could for the Celtics. But as a result of doing that, they gave up a lot of opportunities from the perimeter, and that's when the Boston Celtics started knocking down a lot of threes. Granted, some of those were like really tough shots. Like Jaylen Brown hit a couple of ones that were like defenders were right in his face, but they were able to get comfortable, and then they were knocking down the tough shots. It wasn't like they were knocking down tough shots right out the gate. They were getting comfortable because the closeouts were lazy. It was not like we were in their grill. The thing about Jaylen Brown is that he's a jump shooter. He's not a guy who's gonna obviously he can drive to the rim and he's athletic and stuff, but as good of a finisher as he is, he's always been a pull-up jump shooter. That's always been his mold and his game style. So yeah, Jaylen Brown, you got to run him off the three-point line. You got to make him drive, because once you do that, his playmaking is not really at the standard that it needs to be, and he can be turnover prone then. But letting him rise up and shoot over you, especially when you have Gabe Vincent guarding him for most of the game, who is a smaller defender and he has the height advantage over, is a bad recipe. And he really got going. Jason Tatum got going. Peyton Pritchard got going. A lot of these guys just saw an open shot three for them. They saw a rim that was not being contested, and they just made us pay from the three-point line. And anytime a team shoots 50% from three, which is what the Celtics shot throughout the course of the game, you're probably not going to win that if you're the opposing team. And that's what the Heat were, which we only shot like 20%. They shot 50% from three. So that was the game right there, man. The defense, especially the three-point defense, was atrocious. And even though a lot of people want to talk about the offense, and I get it, we did struggle at times. It was stagnant. There was not really a lot of movement. We still put up like 102 points, and I still think that we can win games putting up that many amount of points, but we cannot win games giving up 127. That's just not going to happen. So I do think that the storyline was more about the defense than it was about the offense, and I do think that the defense is the biggest issue was the biggest issue from game 2. But there are some other stuff we have to talk about, obviously, not just the offense. I do think that Marcus Smart, not just the defense, sorry, I do think that Marcus Smart made a really big impact for them. You know, he almost had a triple-double, but it's just his presence on the court really lifted them as a team. And he was like that playmaker that they desperately needed, because, you know, in game 1, Jason Tatum was being asked to be the playmaker in the third quarter, and that's when they started running into trouble, because the Heat were able to force a lot of turnovers because they didn't really have a true playmaker on the floor. With Smart on there, you have a playmaker on the floor. And yeah, so Smart had a really big impact. Hopefully, if Lowry comes back, he can have a similar impact, because we do need some playmaking and some, you know, movement in our offense desperately, because like I said, it was kind of stagnant throughout the course of the game. It was basically just Jimmy Butler, man. I don't think anyone else really showed up. But yeah, it was tough. It was very tough to watch. Another thing is that we do have to talk about on defense is the switching. And I know that the team loves to switch, the Heat, but it's been hurting the Heat in the series. You know, when we've you know, kept switching, the Celtics have been able to find either a slip to the rim by one of their, you know, wings, or a Robert Williams lob, or a wide open three. And we haven't been able to figure that out. So, you know, we have to do a better job. I'm pretty sure Spo will try to make some adjustments, but defensively, it all starts on the defensive end. I do want to go back to this quote by Jimmy Butler. I'm gonna keep going back to this quote every time. I don't care if people get tired of it, because this quote is really what sums up this team. And Jimmy said it again tonight. When we stop worrying about making shots or missing shots and just start defending throughout the course of the game, and defend with the same intensity throughout the whole game, that's when we're gonna win. And as good of a defensive team that we are, everyone knows that the Heat can defend. Everyone knows that, you know, we saw in the second half of game 1, bro, that defensive performance in the second half was probably one of the best in NBA history. And, you know, we follow it up with this defensive performance. And it's like the Heat defend it sporadically. They defend when they want to. It's not like they have like an on and off switch that people have to, like the coach or someone has to prompt them to turn that switch on defensively. It's not like they come out of the gates defensively ready. That happens sometimes, but sometimes it does not. And it's like I said, it's like an on and off switch that you got to prompt the Heat to turn that switch on whenever they have to defend, and that's not going to work, especially against really good quality opposition like Boston. Like, you can get away with that against Atlanta and stuff, but against Boston, man, you got to be zoned in defensively. I don't care if you're making shots or not. Defensively, you have to be, you know, give that same energy every time. You cannot be out physicaled by Boston. You have to be, you know, even keeled, and you have to be there with the same energy defensively throughout the entire game. And then the shots will start falling, and if the shots fall, they fall. If they don't, they don't. You can't worry about that. Defensively, the defense of the team cannot be dependent on whether the shots fall or not. But yeah, that's what we have to fix with this team, because, you know, that's the thing I'm worried about. I also did not like what Jimmy said about the fact that he has to be more of a playmaker now. That I'm scared about, because I don't want Jimmy to be unselfish. I don't want the unselfish Jimmy back. We need the aggressive Jimmy, because he's the only guy on the team who wants to be aggressive. You know, no one else wants to be aggressive. It's just Jimmy. And now if we lose that, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. So I'm kind of scared, man, for Jimmy to say that I have to be more unselfish and stuff like that. I don't really know about that, bro, because you have been the guy who's been carrying us. You're not the problem, so don't be unselfish. Maybe he's just talking and stuff, just trying to take the blame off others, but I hope that he doesn't become passive in game 3, because we need him to stay aggressive. Like we actually need him to stay aggressive. And I do want to get to the elephant in the room, because a lot of people have been talking about this guy. You know, I've been like a staunch defender of this dude on this channel, man. Every time he's been getting criticism, I've been trying to be like a voice of reason to say it's fine, like he'll figure it out and stuff. But I cannot defend him for last night's performance. Bam Adebayo, man, so disappointing. Like, I'm just disappointed. Like, I don't have any other words to say but disappointed. That's like the worst feeling to have as a fan. And one of your players, like Bam, is my favorite player on the team, probably, apart from Jimmy. And well, obviously he's the second best player, but I've always defended Bam, and I can't defend Bam anymore. Like especially from last night. Now I will say, I'm not trying to make an excuse for Bam, but the way he's being used has to be looked at. Like I know Spo, I love Spo, but the thing about, you know, Bam's usage is that they don't feed him the ball, bro. And it's like there's a coincidence why he plays so much better with Lowry on the floor. I get that he has to be aggressive. I know he has to, which is why I'm saying I'm disappointed, because the Celtics team, yeah, they have good defenders, but Bam should be taking advantage of mismatches every time. And it's like he doesn't even look at the rim. Like every time he catches the ball, it's like it's programmed into his mind that he's trying to do a dribble handoff or pass it to someone else and set a screen instead of going at people, bro. You're an all-star. Like, you have all the talent in the world. Stop taking these turnaround fadeaways, which are contested, and drive to the rim, because you're either bigger than smaller guys like Grant Williams, or you're faster than these Al Horford type guys who are good defenders, but they cannot keep up with Bam. So Bam has to be more aggressive, obviously. Like I understand that, and I do think that that's a big factor for him. But like I said, Eric Spoelstra has to look into how he's being used. I just don't think that Bam is being used correctly. I really do not think that Bam is being used correctly. You know, we'll see what happens, man. We'll really see what happens with Bam. But yeah, he's not played well this series. Even in game one, like he didn't play well offensively, but defensively he was giving you something. Tonight, like this defensive impact from him was not there. Obviously, because like we were not defending well as a team, I guess. But you got to give us something offensively if the defense is not consistent. And he hasn't. It's not even just the points with Bam; it's the shot attempts. He hasn't shot double-digit shot attempts since game 4 against Philly, and that is kind of crazy. Like, I don't care if you score points, just take shots, bro. Like, even if you miss, like, just keep shooting. Like, that's what you got to do. Like, they can't guard you. But he needs more touches. He's not getting the ball when he should. So Spo should look into that, because I don't know what, you know, I don't like the way he's being used. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to make an excuse for him, but he's just not, you know, being used correctly. And part of that is on him and part of that is on Spo. So it's on both of them to figure that out. But like I said, Bam's game has been very disappointing offensively this series. PJ Tucker's injury is concerning. I don't know what the situation is. We'll see what happens. He has to get a MRI or something. But yeah, we'll see what happens with PJ Tucker's injury. But we need him in the series for sure. Like we gotta make sure that PJ Tucker gets back healthy, because it's like he's the spark plug of this team. And you know, I don't know if we can win in Boston without PJ. You know, we'll see what happens. But PJ is as important as almost anyone else on this team, and losing him would be huge, especially for the series. So yeah, PJ Tucker, hopefully he returns, man. He's a warrior. I know he's gonna want to play, but it's up to the medical staff to determine whether PJ Tucker is healthy enough to return. But yeah, that injury when he went back to the locker room, but that contusion or whatever, I guess it was just a contusion, but like it still didn't look good. And the fact that he needs an MRI on it, you know, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. But some other quotes from Jimmy Butler. I watched the film. I promise you we'll figure it out. I hope so, man. I really hope so for game 3. But I'm excited. Let's see if we can bounce back. I'll see y'all later as always, man. Have a nice day. Peace.